For an acid, the stronger the acid is, the weaker its conjugate base will be, and vice versa. So if you have a base, the stronger the base is, the weaker its conjugate acid will be. In the case of a strong acid or a strong base, their conjugates are so weak that they're neutral. So the conjugate base of a strong acid doesn't act as a base at all, it's neutral. So in questions like these where we're asked for the pH of a salt solution, we have to consider the conjugate acid or conjugate base of the species given and see then whether we'd expect them to be neutral, a weak acid, or a weak base. So I'll show you what I mean. For the first one here, we have NaCl. Sodium is always just a spectator ion. So this is Na+, and Cl-. We can ignore the sodium because it's always a spectator ion. So we look at the chloride anion. That is the conjugate base of HCl. So to find the conjugate acid, we just add a proton. So we add the H. So HCl is a strong acid, and so its conjugate base is so weak that it's neutral. So we'd expect this solution to be neutral. So here we'd expect pH equals 7. For the next question, this salt, if we dissolved it in solution, would be CH3COO- and Na+. Again, we can ignore the sodium, the Na+. So we're just looking at this weak base here. So if I look at the conjugate acid, I write out the same thing but adding out a proton, so that would be COOH. Now this is a weak acid, so it will have a weak conjugate base. So this is a weak conjugate base, so if we were to dissolve it, we'd expect that the pH would be basic or greater than 7. So here we'd expect that the pH is bigger than 7. For this question here, we have NH4+ and Cl-. I'm going to ignore the Cl because we already know from above that that is neutral since it's the conjugate base of a strong acid, HCl. So on the left here, we have NH4+. Now that is a conjugate acid, and that is the conjugate acid of NH3. So I've just taken away one of the protons to get NH3 as our conjugate base. So if we react to conjugate base, we end up with this weak acid. Weak acid dissolved in solution is going to give an acidic solution, so we'd expect the pH to be less than 7. For the last question, we have Na+ and Cn-. This Cn- is a weak conjugate base of HCN. So if we dissolve a weak base in solution, we'd expect that the pH is bigger than 7.